Welcome to the Rider's Edge podcast, a platform to share conversations about the health and wellness of horse and rider. I'm your host, Farley Schweigert. Hey y'all, it's Farley with the Rider's Edge podcast, and it's time to have another chat about hashtag in the arena 365. Today, we're going to have an update on the one and only Chuck. So, if you've been following along with the podcast over the summer and my posts on social media, you know that Chuck or Charlie or Charles or Chuckles, most of my animals at my house have multiple names. And oddly enough, they all tend to answer to any one of them. So I'm wondering if you have multiple names for your animals as well, or is it just me? I'm doubting that it's just me. So Charlie has a small lesion on the distal aspect of his deep digital flexor tendon in his right front, and it was diagnosed late June. Actually, let's get real technical. It was July 3rd I got it diagnosed. It happened late June. But by the time we got everything else cleared out, it took about 2 weeks to find it actually. So, it's it was a very small lesion that my vet found via ultrasound. Radiographs looked very clean. He elected not to put a biologic in it because it was so small. He felt like injecting a biologic in it would disrupt the tissue more than the biologic would help because it was so small. So, okay. So, we have a 90-day plan at this point. We, we lasered, and he was on normal turnout, and I was still able to ride him at a walk, and then at 30 days, add some trotting in and progressing from there. Well, at 30 days, I felt like he was worse because, I don't know, because he's my horse and he's not better in one day. I'm not that good. He just, he felt real, just kind of sloggy at 30 days, and I was headed back anyway. So he was rechecked at 30 days, and he was not worse. He was very status quo for 30 days out. So I continued on, but slowed down my exercise regimen. We were just fixing to start progressing it, and my veterinarian was like, "No, let's back it down. Another 15 days or so." Well, I backed it back even further than that after that amount of time because he felt better, but he didn't feel right. He felt better, but he didn't feel right. And so I would mess with this and, ride him 2 to 3 times a week, laser him, and every time I rode him, I would change up the amount of trotting I actually did. Sometimes I would ride him, y'all, and I was like, "Oh, Chuck's getting better. This is gonna be okay. We're gonna be able to go back to work." Let's get real here for a second. Chuck is not finished yet. Chuck is on his way. He's not a finished barrel horse yet. And so there is no time frame with him. He there's nowhere we have to get. We don't have to get to a finals. We don't have to get to a rodeo. We don't have to get anywhere with Chuck. I just really like Chuck a lot. And I just really want to go back to work. I just am enthralled with the process with him because he's so kind and he really wants to work. And so I am just so ready just to get back to work. I don't have a place to go. I don't have a plan. I just want to get back to work. So, Anyway, I digress, as has been has been the norm for the day. You haven't been able to catch me in the butterfly net today. I've had conversations here, conversations there, and they all have a little bit of forward motion in them. So Charlie, just some days I was like, oh, we're on track. Other days I'm like, we are not on track. We are regressing. I I don't know what's going on. And y'all, I just got in this head game with myself about my horse. Because the thing is, and I tell my clients this all the time when we're talking about their horses, and my friends will call, it is different when it's your horse. It is different when it is your horse. There's more emotion tied up in it. There is more, uh, there's just more time, heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears tied up in it. And it's, even though you can be the most empathetic person in the world, it's just different when it's your horse versus your best friend's horse. Even though for my tribe, I would much rather be going through something most of the time than to watch them do that. Like I want to, help people and change that around. But oh my goodness, it is different when it is your horse. And this is not, by all means, this just happens to be the latest soundness issue in my personal barn. Is dang sure not the first, and it dang sure won't be the last. But anyway, so I've been in this head game for about the last 30 days, and we were about 2 weeks past 90 days when I got in to see my vet. And we get up there, start doing the lameness tests, and lunging around the round pen for him. And he's like, Farley, he looks really good. I was like, oh, like hell he does. He looks atrocious going to the right. And so, anyway, it just, because I've been riding him, I've not put him in the round pen to lunge him or had anybody tracking for me. So I've just really been going off of feel with Charlie. And he was really good to the left. I sent him around to the left at first. I was like, okay, we're gonna get a good report. It's gonna go good. Everything's gonna be fine. And I sent him around to the right, and I was like, hallelujah, I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested. And y'all, he just was still not right. It wasn't horrific. It wasn't three-legged. It wasn't head bobbing. It just was not right. And to give you a little more description on not right in the current situation, there'd be a couple strides that were real smooth and looked real good, and I was like, okay. And then there'd be about three that weren't. And there might be a little bit of change in his head movement, but really, if you kind of just studied his overall gait, there's a slight change. It's a slight change. So we do the other testing and things, and we ultrasound him, and my veterinarian determines he's 50% better. The ultrasound shows a lot of good healing. It's not done healing, but a lot of good healing at the lesion that we can see on the ultrasound. And y'all, I was just bummed out. It's taken 3-ish, 4-ish days to really get over my little pity party about my horse and him being 50% better. Now, that's not a horrible diagnosis. Uh, he's not 50% worse. It's not a career-ending injury. He's just, we're not done. We're not done rehabbing at all. And so we're sitting there talking, and my veterinarian says that he's like, I think there's more pathology going down further distally from what we can see on the ultrasound, and I have no other imaging to get through to the that aspect of it besides an MRI. There's no need to repeat radiographs because they're clean, and radiographs are for bone, not soft tissue. And I was like, well, okay. I said, you know, from what I know about MRIs, I'm like, they're not financially feasible for me at this moment. I said, well, maybe I'll call about a standing MRI. Maybe, well, they're not as good, Farley. I know, but maybe they'll give us some information if they are within my budget. So I called about them yesterday. They are not financially feasible for your friend Farles. And so no MRI, no MRI for Chucky. And you know what? That's okay, because this happens all the time in medicine. It happens in human medicine. It happens in veterinary medicine. I would love to have an MRI because I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd about horse rehab, and I would love to see the pictures and know exactly what's going on. And then we can make a better time frame and the thing and the deal. And you know what? It is okay. It is okay that we don't have it. And you may be sitting there listening, going, "Well, of course it's okay because you can't pay for it." Well, that's not it. That's not entirely it. I, you know what? Because I like studying this stuff, I would love to have more pictures of it. Because I'd like to have a pre and a post, and here we go. And here's the thing. Besides the financial aspect of it, if you take finances out of it for a second, and you start looking at the medical aspect of it, having that picture would not change the current course of therapy. Having that picture would not change how I'm lasering, would not change the TheraPlate, would not change everything I have access to at this moment in time, because we are maxing out our treatment. There's nothing else that we can do. So having that picture would just be nice. Would it give us more information? Sure. It would give us a better prognosis. It would give us a better diagnosis. It would give us better management tools than what we're going to be able to have. We can ultrasound where we've been having the healing occur, and we can go through all the lameness tests, and we have a lot of data on that. But we won't. That's how we will diagnose uh, our progress and track it, because we don't have any other options at this moment in time. And that's the thing with medicine. Boy, pretty pictures are great. You are listening to me on your handheld computer, probably, that is also a camera. It's also a picture storage device, along with all the thousands of other things that our phones do for us these days. And we love pictures. We love taking them. We love posting them. We like looking at other people's pictures. We like pictures. Boy, wouldn't that be cool to have a picture of my horse's foot? I could be like, see here, this is what this is going on, and things like that. But again, it's not going to change the treatment. It's not going to speed it up. It's not going to alter it. It's not going to change anything besides possibly being able to have a better prognosis for this injury. And that's the same with people. I've had numerous clients. Oh, I need an MRI. Oh, I need an MRI. Oh, in my back, I really need that MRI. My insurance won't pay for my MRI. I need it. I need to know what's going on. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I'm like, why? It with what's going on with you right now, it wouldn't change your course of treatment. oh, but we need to know. And I'm like, but we do know. We do know what's going on. We have gathered all the information we can with the images that we have available, which, typically X-ray is the most readily available image, and then maybe ultrasound or CT, depending upon, what you got going and where it's at, and all the other things. But we have what we need, and it wouldn't change our treatment. So, do we need to go to that expense? Whether we're talking about a cash pay image through veterinary medicine, or we're talking about your insurance paying um, for imaging for you. A lot of times we don't need that picture. We would love to have it. It'd be great. And that technology is changing like everything else in our lives so often, and the machines are getting smaller and more portable and more accessible. And, there may be a day where that's really completely changed in medicine. But as it stands right now in 2020, it's been this way for quite some time. And the imaging isn't it's nice and be fun, but it isn't always medically necessary. And the same thing happens in people too. There sometimes it's not financially feasible to get this pretty picture taken. And again, it would often not change the treatment. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not anti-imaging by any means. I am pro using images in the right context and blending what the image tells you and what the clinical signs present as, what your special tests, what your subjective interview, and all the different things that you've done, blending those two things together, your clinical presentation and the image, to get what's really going on. You have to have both. Whether we're talking about horses or we're talking about people, you have to have both of those things together. Because the other side of the coin of it is that a lot of times our modalities are lasers or magna waves, or whatever modality you choose to use. All the best that we are doing is pushing Mother Nature. We can't trick her. We can't bypass her. We can nudge her along, and we can push, 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 push. And a lot of times we gain. A lot of times with good therapy, with compliant patients, compliant owners, we can push, and we can get there a little bit faster. But we can't change the course of Mother Nature. We can't push her beyond, a few days to a few weeks, depending upon what you're talking about. Um, we're we're good, but we're not that good. We can't change the course of healing like that. So we can't, we can't change the fact that this is a tendon we're talking about in Charlie's case, and tendons have the one of the least amounts of blood flow in the tissue. And anytime there's decreased blood flow, then healing is slowed. Healing is slowed a lot. So it it's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell, because I so many times I wish I had a crystal ball, or I could wiggle my nose like I Dream a Genie and just have all this done and be here and be there, and be living on the road as a fabulous rodeo gypsy. But it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. And it's the same thing with whatever you have going on in your arena right now. It's the same thing with your training and your performance goals right now. You are working hard and you've got to put in the time every day and get those small improvements every day. And the small improvements add up to big changes, big moves over time. But it's that small gain every day. It's that small push that some days is 5% better. Other days you only hit that 1%. As I swore up and down to my tribe this weekend, I was at -8% as I was throwing my little pity party. I did throw my sucker in the dirt for about 3 days. Now I still lasered and theraplated Charlie. And the thing about what we were doing in the first 90 days is that I didn't theraplate Charlie the first 90 days. I only lasered him. And I'll be real honest, the reason why is because I got lazy. I got lazy and I only lasered him and exercised him. Now I put him on the Surefoot balance pads and worked on some other things that way, but I didn't break him to the plate. That's the only reason why he didn't get plated. Because when I left Doc's with the original diagnosis, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home and we're gonna plate and we're gonna laser and this and that and yada yada yada. Well, I only lasered. I hammered down on lasering right around where that lesion is. I rode and I, made sure I was really working on him still uh, pushing with his hind end and moving his front feet like I like him to do, and continuing to progress that way. But I didn't, yeah, I didn't plate him, and really the TheraPlate, I've had good success with it with lower limb pathologies, lower limb issues of lymphedema in the lower limb, where um, you know how a horse that's had a big trauma to their limb, it can end up being thick and stay that way. I've had a lot of success with that. I've had some improvement on hoof health to the point where my shoer was ready to change nail sizes on that particular horse, and her hoof walls were not so thin anymore that they needed the thinnest nail that he had. So the TheraPlate is like the laser, is like the MagnaWave, is like any other new technology, any joint supplement, anything. It is very good at what it is very good at. It is not as good as Chris Ledoux claims Copenhagen is. That it can't cure. What is it? Um, gosh, I had that line in my head where it's if you if you're singing Copenhagen now and the rest of the day, you're welcome. Uh, anyway, it's not no modality, whether we're talking about the plate, whether we're talking about the laser or what have you, is a cure all, is a fix all. They have their place, and they're very good at that, and and that's where having a practitioner that understands that modality and uses it for what it is very good at is super important. Instead of this snake oil salesman of, oh my gosh, if you use this, your horse can leap tall buildings in a single bound. You will win every jackpot you ever go to, anything like that. And so it's just it's y'all, it's just doing the right thing by our horses. And I've I failed Chuck in the first 90 days because I didn't do everything that was fully available to me. And that's on me. The my therapy plate, the way it's set up at my house right now, it doesn't have a stalk around it. It's a freestanding plate, and it just takes a minute to get them broke to it. Now, did Charlie was super good about being broke to it, and only it didn't take very long at all. But it was, it was cleaning it off because people had piled stuff on it 'cause it hasn't been being used, and teaching him that, and the thing and the deal. And so it just took a minute. So, my biggest takeaways from where we currently are in my arena is, oh my gosh, do do the best by your horses. Do the right thing, stay later, get up earlier, whatever it takes in whatever situation or season you are currently in. Do the right thing by your horses, and do all the things that you can. Do the best with what you have at that moment. And that's all any of us can do. As I have to be reminded of that sometimes with my Superman syndrome and all the things that we talk about here on the podcast. But do the best you can with what you have. And when you can do better, and when you know better, do better. It's that simple. So don't lose sight of that. If you are struggling with your training, if you're struggling with rehabbing from an injury, or should I send them off to a professional? What about this? What about that? Reach out to me. If I can't help you, I will find somebody in my network who can definitely help you, and we can talk through whatever we need to, and make sure you're on the right path. And gosh, sometimes you just need an outsider to say you're okay. I see you. I understand what's going on with your horse because I've been there. I'm currently there. I'm coming out of it. I know I'll be there again. I see you. And you're going to be okay, and so is your horse. Sometimes we need that. We need that more than anything. So don't overestimate getting an outside opinion. You know, calling around, having conversations, and doing the best you can for both you and your horse. That's all any of us can do. So Charlie he's on a we're on kind of a 60-day plan right now. We'll do a 60-day recheck. And so, currently we're on the same lasering schedule with a few modifications of application. The riding routine has decreased. Some of it's trotting. It didn't have much in it to begin with, but we've altered that around. And he's getting plated majority of the days. Right now that looks like probably 5 to 6 days a week, per how my schedule's been working out. And we'll recheck in 60 days. And if we're only at 75%, we'll have another grumbly possible sucker throwing, and then we'll pick it up and we'll continue on with whatever we determine at that time. And that's the thing. It's not going to get better by not working on it. It's not going to heal any faster. It's not going to change the outcome. It's not going to get better by not working on it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work. And the thing about him is I'm ready for him to go back to work. So I can see the process going on with him. So until that day happens, we're going to continue to learn from the current process we are in with Charlie. And I hope bringing you along for the ride in Chuck's journey is helpful to whatever situation you're going through. And to just know you're not alone with your horses. and that while you may be crazy, you're probably not crazy about that situation that keeps you up at night or is always on the back of your brain. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? What do I need to do? So, hopefully these chats on the podcast are reassuring and you learn a little bit as well. So, thanks for hanging out with me today and talking about one of my current favorite caballos, the Charles. So, Chucky, he's a fun guy, and we'll get there. I don't have any doubts about that. So, thank you for hanging out with me, and as always, I will see you down the road. Thank you for listening to Rider's Edge Podcast. For show notes and other thoughts, head over to ridersedgetherapy.com. If you would like to stay connected and continue the conversation, head over to my free Facebook group, Rider's Edge Health and Wellness for Horse and Rider. Thanks for continuing the conversation, and as always, I will see you down the road.